My name is Sophie, and at 29 years old, I never imagined that discovering a simple payroll document would shatter my entire world and force me to walk away from everything I had built. For 7 years, I poured my soul into our family construction business, managing every contract, every financial decision, believing that hard work and loyalty would be valued equally. But that Friday evening, when I found the salary sheet on my father's desk showing my brother and sister earning 40% more than me, everything changed. Before I share what happened next, let me know where you're watching from. If you've ever felt undervalued at work, especially by family, please subscribe and like this video. Harper Construction wasn't just a business to our family. It was our legacy, our identity woven into 3 generations of blood, sweat, and concrete. My grandfather, William Harper, started it all back in 1965 with nothing but a rusty pickup truck and determination that could move mountains. I remember him telling stories about those early days sleeping in that truck, between job sites eating cold sandwiches for dinner, saving every penny to buy his first cement mixer. He'd work 18-hour days pouring foundations in the scorching summer heat, his hands cracked and bleeding from the constant contact with rough materials. But he never complained. He'd say that every blister was a step toward building something that would outlast him. By the time he retired in 1995, Harper Construction had grown from that single truck to a fleet of 15 vehicles and 50 employees, specializing in commercial construction projects across 3 counties. My father, Robert Harper, took over the company when I was just 4 years old. I grew up in the shadow of construction sites, the smell of sawdust and diesel fuel more familiar to me than any perfume. Dad transformed the business, modernizing our equipment, implementing new safety protocols, and expanding into government contracts. Under his leadership, annual revenue grew from $2 million to $15 million. Our family structure seemed perfect from the outside. Kevin, my older brother at 32, married his college sweetheart right after graduation, and now had 2 beautiful kids. He'd been groomed from birth to be the heir apparent, spending summers working on job sites since he was 14. Dad would proudly introduce him as the future of Harper Construction, and Kevin wore that title like a crown. Ashley, my younger sister at 26, was the baby of the family. She'd recently married her boyfriend of 3 years in a wedding that cost more than some people's annual salaries. Dad had insisted on paying for everything, saying his little princess deserved the best. She'd studied marketing in college, though her grades were average at best, and joined the company immediately after graduation. Then there was me, middle child Sophie. I'd graduated summa cum laude with a degree in accounting, maintaining a 3.9 GPA while working part-time to pay for my own expenses. I'd received multiple job offers after graduation, including one from Deloitte that would have started me at $75,000 a year. But when Dad called saying the family business needed someone with real financial expertise, I didn't hesitate. I turned down those offers without a second thought. Family came first. That's what we'd been taught since childhood. The business was our shared responsibility, our common goal. I believed that working together meant we'd all benefit equally from our collective success. My first day at Harper Construction was a Monday in January 7 years ago. I started as a basic bookkeeper despite my advanced degree. Dad said everyone had to start from the bottom to truly understand the business. While Kevin had been given a manager title from day one, I accepted my position without complaint. Within 6 months, I'd completely reorganized our accounting system. The previous bookkeeper had been using methods from the 1990s, keeping some records on paper, others in outdated software. I digitized everything, created automated systems for invoicing and payment tracking, and implemented a new inventory management system that saved us $30,000 in the first quarter alone. But I didn't stop there. I taught myself project management software, learned construction estimating, and studied building codes until I could quote them from memory. When our project manager quit suddenly, I stepped in temporarily and ended up managing 3 major projects simultaneously while still handling all financial duties. I negotiated with suppliers, reducing material costs by 15% through bulk purchasing agreements and strategic partnerships. I restructured our equipment loans, saving $800 monthly in interest. When the IRS announced new tax regulations for construction companies, I spent weeks studying them. ensuring we remained compliant while maximizing our deductions. My typical day started at 6 in the morning. I'd arrive at the office before anyone else, reviewing financial reports, preparing bid proposals, and answering emails from clients. By 8, when Kevin strolled in with his coffee, I'd already completed more work than most people did in a full day. I'd stay until 8 or 9 at night, long after Ashley had left for her yoga classes or dinner dates. Weekends were no different. While Kevin coached his kids' soccer games and Ashley posted Instagram photos from brunch, I was in the office preparing quarterly reports, managing payroll for 50 employees, and ensuring every invoice was paid on time. I handled workers' compensation claims, negotiated insurance rates, and maintained relationships with our banking partners. The transformation I brought to Harper Construction was undeniable. Our profit margins increased by 23% in my first 2 years. We expanded from primarily residential projects to landing major commercial contracts. I personally secured a $5 million line of credit that allowed us to bid on larger projects, including an $8 million contract with a local university for their new science building. That university project was my proudest achievement. The competition was fierce, with established firms from across the state submitting bids. I spent 3 weeks preparing our proposal, analyzing every detail, finding ways to reduce costs without sacrificing quality. I created a presentation that highlighted our local roots, our commitment to hiring from the community, and our innovative approach to sustainable construction. The discovery happened on a Friday evening in October. The office was empty except for me, which wasn't unusual. The autumn sun was setting, casting long shadows across my desk as I finalized the quarterly financial report. My eyes burned from staring at spreadsheets for hours, but the numbers had to be perfect for Monday's board meeting. The printer in my office jammed for the 3rd time that week. I needed those reports printed tonight, so I grabbed my laptop and headed to my father's office, where the expensive laser printer he'd bought himself always worked perfectly. His door was unlocked as usual. Dad trusted family implicitly, never feeling the need for security between us. His office was 3 times the size of mine, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the equipment yard. Photos covered one wall, showing the company's evolution from Grandpa's single truck to our current fleet. I'd always felt proud looking at those pictures, seeing our family's legacy documented in black and white. The printer hummed to life, slowly producing my 40-page report. While waiting, I noticed several documents scattered across Dad's mahogany desk. He was usually meticulous about filing, so the mess surprised me. As I moved closer to set down my laptop, my eyes caught something that made my heart skip. It was a salary summary for 2024, marked confidential in red letters. I shouldn't have looked, but my name jumped out at me from the middle of the page. My hand trembled as I picked up the document, certain I was misreading the numbers. Kevin Harper, Chief Operating Officer, 95,000 base salary plus 15,000 performance bonus, 110,000 total compensation. Ashley Harper, Marketing Director, 85,000 base salary plus 10,000 performance bonus, 95,000 total compensation. Sophie Harper, Financial Manager, 68,000 base salary plus 5,000 performance bonus, 73,000 total compensation. I read it 3 times, certain there was a mistake. But the numbers remained the same, mocking me in their clarity. My brother, who regularly missed important meetings for golf outings, who couldn't read a financial statement without my help, earned 50% more than me. My sister, who spent half her workday online shopping and had lost us 2 clients with her unprofessional behavior, made 30% more. The room spun slightly as I sank into Dad's leather chair. 7 years of 60-hour weeks. 7 years of sacrificing weekends, vacations, relationships. I'd missed my college roommate's wedding to handle a crisis at work. I'd spent my last birthday alone in the office, fixing a payroll error Kevin had caused. Memories flooded back with new context. The previous year, when I'd saved us from a $500,000 tax penalty by catching an error our previous accountant had made, Dad had thanked me with a pat on the shoulder and a $100 bonus. The same week, he'd bought Kevin a new truck for his birthday. When I'd landed the university contract, the biggest in company history, Dad had taken Kevin to the celebration dinner with the clients, introducing him as the future of Harper Construction, while I stayed behind to handle the paperwork. When Ashley had lost us a valuable client by showing up drunk to a lunch meeting, Dad had laughed it off as youthful exuberance. I thought about my apartment, a modest one-bedroom in an aging building, while Kevin lived in a four-bedroom house in the suburbs. I thought about my 10-year-old Honda Civic, reliable but rusting, while Ashley drove a BMW that Dad had co-signed for. I'd assumed these differences were because they had families' responsibilities I didn't understand as a single woman. But this wasn't about different life circumstances. This was about value, about worth, about how my father fundamentally viewed my contribution to the company. Despite handling every financial aspect of the business, despite my degree and expertise, despite the countless problems I'd solved and money I'd saved, I was worth less in his eyes. I photographed the salary sheet with shaking hands, then carefully placed it back where I'd found it. The printer had long since finished my report stacked neatly in the tray, but I couldn't move. I sat in that office until well past midnight, replaying every interaction, every comment, every slight I dismissed or rationalized. Dad's words echoed in my memory with new meaning. Comments about Kevin carrying on the family name, about Ashley needing to be taken care of, about me being so independent and capable. I'd taken them as compliments, not realizing they were justifications for valuing me less. The cleaning crew arrived around 1 in the morning, startling me from my thoughts. I gathered my reports and walked to my car in a daze. The drive home was automatic, my mind still processing the betrayal. This wasn't just about money. It was about respect, recognition, and the realization that no matter how hard I worked, I would never be valued equally in my father's eyes. That weekend was the longest of my life. I didn't eat, couldn't sleep, just sat with the weight of this discovery. I ran through every possible explanation, every potential justification, but none held water. The numbers were clear, the discrimination undeniable. By Sunday night, I knew I had to confront him. Monday morning arrived with unusual clarity. I'd spent the weekend preparing not just emotionally, but strategically. I printed comprehensive reports showing my contributions over the past 7 years, complete with metrics, dollar amounts saved, revenue generated, and hours worked. If Dad wanted to discuss fair compensation, I would give him facts he couldn't deny. I arrived early as always, but waited until 9:30 when I knew he'd be settled in his office with his second cup of coffee. The walk down the hallway felt like a mile. Each step carried the weight of 7 years of dedication about to be challenged. I knocked on his door, something I rarely did. Usually I just walked in comfortable in the familiar space. But this wasn't a casual visit. This was business. Dad looked up from his computer, his weathered face breaking into a smile that now seemed patronizing. "Sophie, perfect timing. I was just reviewing your quarterly report. Excellent work as always." Those words, which once would have filled me with pride, now tasted bitter. Excellent work that was worth 40% less than mediocre work from my siblings. I closed the door behind me and sat across from his desk, placing my folder of documents between us. "Dad, we need to discuss my compensation." His eyebrows rose slightly. In 7 years, I'd never asked for a raise, trusting that my hard work would be recognized and rewarded fairly. "Oh, is everything all right? You know the company has been managing expenses carefully." I pulled out the photographed salary sheet, placing it on his desk. "I saw this on Friday. Can you explain why I'm paid significantly less than Kevin and Ashley?" The color drained from his face, then returned in a flush of red. His jaw tightened, a tell I recognized from childhood when he was caught off guard. "You went through my private documents. The printer in my office was broken. I came to use yours and saw it on your desk. But that's not the issue here. The issue is this pay disparity." He leaned back in his chair, his fingers drumming on the armrest, buying time to formulate his response. "Sophie, you have to understand compensation isn't just about job performance. Then what is it about? It's about need, about circumstances. Kevin has a mortgage, 2 kids in private school, a family to support. His wife doesn't work so she can take care of the children. And that makes his work worth more than mine." Dad's face hardened, shifting from defensive to authoritative. "It makes his needs greater. Ashley just got married, they're trying to buy a house, start their life together. These are important milestones. And I don't have important milestones. I don't have bills, aspirations, a future to build." He waved his hand dismissively. "You're single, no kids, minimal expenses. You live simply, which I've always admired about you. You don't need as much. I opened my folder, spreading out the documents I'd prepared. Let's talk about what I do need. I need fair compensation for managing $15 million in annual revenue. I need recognition for the $500,000 I saved us in tax penalties. I need appropriate pay for securing $8 million in new contracts. You're part of a team, Sophie. We all contribute. Last month, Kevin missed 4 client meetings. I covered every one. Ashley works maybe 30 hours a week, spending the rest on personal calls and shopping. I haven't taken a vacation in 2 years. Dad's face reddened. Your brother is learning to handle major responsibilities. He'll be running this company one day. Based on what qualification? His chromosome, because it certainly isn't his work ethic or business acumen. Watch your tone, young lady. Family businesses have traditions, structures that have worked for generations. Structures where women do the work while men get the credit and compensation. He slammed his hand on the desk, making me jump. This isn't about gender. It's about family roles. Kevin needs to provide for his family. Ashley needs security as she starts her marriage. You're brilliant independent. You don't need the same support. So I'm being punished for being competent and single. You're being dramatic. $73,000 is a very good salary. It's $37,000 less than Kevin's for doing 3 times the work. Dad stood up, pacing to the window. You know what your problem is, Sophie. You don't understand sacrifice. Everything isn't about money. It's about taking care of family, making sure everyone has what they need. Everyone except me, apparently. He turned back, his expression softer, but somehow more insulting. You're young, no attachments. Your time will come. When you get married, have kids, things will be different. So my value as an employee is tied to my marital status. Your value as a daughter is understanding that family means sometimes accepting less so others can have more. Kevin and Ashley need more right now. Based on what metric? Because the only metric that should matter is contribution to this company. Life isn't a spreadsheet, Sophie. You can't reduce everything to numbers. But you did. You reduced my worth to a number. 68,000. That's what 7 years of dedication is worth to you. Dad returned to his chair, his demeanor shifting to paternalistic concern. Sophie, sweetheart, I thought you understood our family dynamic. You've always been the responsible one, the one I could count on to understand the bigger picture. The bigger picture being that I subsidize my siblings' lifestyles with my undervalued labor. The bigger picture being that we take care of each other. Right now, Kevin and Ashley need more financial support. You're strong, capable. You don't need as much help. This isn't help, Dad, it's salary. Compensation for work performed. He pulled out his checkbook, a gesture that made my stomach turn. Look, if money is that important to you, I can give you a bonus. $5,000 to show my appreciation. I don't want a handout. I want fair compensation. Fair is subjective. What I'm doing is fair based on need. What you're doing is discrimination based on gender and marital status. His face turned purple. How dare you accuse me of discrimination? I've given you every opportunity. Opportunity to work for less than I'm worth. If you're so unhappy, maybe you should work elsewhere. The words hung in the air between us, electric and dangerous. His eyes widened as he realized what he'd said, but pride prevented him from taking it back. That evening, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open, staring at a blank document titled Resignation Letter. The cursor blinked mockingly as I struggled to find words professional enough to mask my rage and hurt. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was trying to maintain professionalism and grace, while leaving a company that had shown me neither. But I wouldn't stoop to their level. My exit would be as exemplary as my work had been. I started typing each word carefully chosen. Dear Mr. Harper, please accept this letter as formal notification of my resignation from Harper Construction, effective 2 weeks from today's date. So formal, so cold for a man I'd called Dad for 29 years. As I detailed the transition plan listing the 47 distinct responsibilities I managed, the scope of my role became even clearer. Financial reporting, tax compliance, payroll processing, benefits, administration accounts, receivable accounts, payable, banking relationships, insurance, negotiations, contract management, vendor relations, inventory, control, project, cost analysis, budget forecasting, audit, preparation, regulatory compliance. The list grew longer as I remembered more tasks I'd absorbed over the years without complaint or compensation adjustment. Each responsibility represented hours of work specialized knowledge and critical decision making that kept the company running smoothly. I created a transition document 150 pages initially that grew to 200 as I detailed every process, every password, every contact, every crucial piece of information needed to maintain operations. It was my final act of professionalism, ensuring the company wouldn't suffer despite how I'd been treated. Tuesday morning came too quickly. I printed my resignation letter on the good paper, the stuff we save for important contracts. My hands didn't shake as I signed it. I felt oddly calm, like a soldier who'd already accepted their fate marching into battle. Dad was on a call when I entered his office. I waited standing rather than sitting until he finished. His irritation at the interruption was clear, but it vanished when he saw the envelope in my hand. "What's this?" "My resignation. 2 weeks' notice as per company policy." He actually laughed. "Sophie, come on, you're not serious. We had one disagreement. We had 7 years of you undervaluing my contribution. The disagreement simply brought it to light. You can't resign, your family." Family doesn't mean accepting discrimination. I'm giving professional notice as an employee. Who's going to handle everything you do? That's outlined in the transition document I'm preparing. I suggest you start looking for a replacement immediately. His demeanor shifted from dismissive to concerned. "Sophie, let's discuss this rationally. You're upset, I understand." "I'm not upset, I'm done. There's a difference." "What if I give you a raise 10,000 more?" "It's not about the money anymore, Dad. It's about respect." 15,000. That would put you at 83,000. Still less than Ashley, who works part-time at best. She has different responsibilities. Name one that justifies the pay difference. He couldn't. His mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "You're going to destroy this company out of spite." "I'm leaving to find an employer who values my contribution appropriately. If the company suffers, perhaps you should ask why one employee's departure would cause such damage." "What will people say? Family doesn't abandon family. Family doesn't exploit family either yet. Here we are." Kevin burst in then, having heard raised voices. "What's going on?" Dad pointed at me like I was a traitor. "Your sister is quitting." Kevin's reaction was predictable. "You can't be serious because of money. That's so selfish." "Selfish is expecting someone to work for 40% less than you while doing triple the work." "I have a family to support, and I have a life to build which requires fair compensation." "This is probably why you're still single. No man wants a woman who only cares about money." The comment stung precisely because it revealed how they truly saw me. Not as a professional, not as an equal, but as a failure in the only role they thought mattered for women. Ashley arrived minutes later, summoned by Kevin's frantic text. Her entrance was dramatic as always. "What's this about you leaving? How could you do this to us?" "I'm not doing anything to you. I'm doing something for me." "But who's going to handle payroll, taxes, all that boring stuff?" The boring stuff. That's what my expertise had been reduced to in their minds. "You could learn," I suggested. Her face twisted in disgust. "That's not my job. Neither is it mine for poverty wages." Dad slammed his desk again. "Enough, Sophie. I'll give you the rest of the day to reconsider. This is emotional decision-making, and you're smarter than that." "My decision stands. 2 weeks from today will be my last day." I left them in Dad's office, their voices rising in panic as I walked back to my desk. Word spread quickly through the company. By lunch, every employee knew I was leaving. The reactions were telling. The accounting assistant Maria cried when I told her. "You're the only one who ever helped me understand anything," she said. Tom, the senior foreman, shook his head sadly. "This place won't run without you. Your dad's a fool if he lets you go." Even suppliers started calling when they heard concerned about their relationships with the company. I assured each one that transitions would be handled smoothly, though I doubted that would be the case. The next 2 weeks revealed just how much I'd been carrying alone. Kevin shadowed me reluctantly, checking his phone every few minutes during my attempts to explain cash flow management. When I showed him the spreadsheet tracking project costs across 17 active sites, his eyes glazed over. "Can't we just hire someone to do this?" he asked after I'd explained the same formula 3 times. You could, but they'd need to be paid appropriately. Market rate for this position is between 90 and 110,000. His face paled. That's more than I make. No, Kevin, it's exactly what you make. It's 40,000 more than I make. He tried to appear invested after that, but his limitations were obvious. He couldn't grasp the relationships between different financial elements, couldn't see how delaying payment to one vendor might affect credit terms with another. He wanted simple solutions to complex problems, black and white answers in a world of gray. Ashley's training went worse. She'd agreed to take over vendor relations and basic HR tasks, but treated every session like an imposition. She arrived late, left early, and spent most of the time between scrolling through her phone. I don't understand why we need all these forms, she complained when I explained employment documentation requirements. Can't we just trust people? The Department of Labor doesn't accept trust as documentation. This is too complicated. We should just outsource it. To whom? And with what budget? She shrugged, already mentally checking out. Dad will figure it out. But Dad wasn't figuring anything out. He'd assumed my threat to leave was a negotiation tactic. Even as I trained my siblings, he believed I'd change my mind. He'd corner me daily with new offers, each more insulting than the last. 20,000 raise and a new title. Senior Vice President of Finance. A company car, BMW like Ashley's. 4 weeks vacation, though I know you won't take it. That last comment perfectly encapsulated the problem. He knew I wouldn't take vacation because he'd built a structure where I couldn't. Every offer addressed symptoms, not the disease. Meanwhile, I was discovering problems I hadn't even known existed. Ashley had been signing contracts without reading them, committing us to terms that were unfavorable at best, potentially ruinous at worst. Kevin had approved equipment purchases without checking our cash position, creating a situation where we'd struggle to make payroll next month without careful management. The second week brought panic. Dad called an emergency family meeting this time, including Mom, who'd stayed out of business matters for years. Sophie, please, Mom begged, tears in her carefully made-up eyes. This is tearing the family apart. No, Mom. Pay discrimination tore it apart. I'm just refusing to be a victim of it anymore. But family businesses require sacrifice. Whose sacrifice? Why is it always mine? Because you're strong enough to handle it, Dad said, as if that made it acceptable. My strength isn't an invitation to exploit me. Nobody's exploiting you, Kevin shouted. You're getting paid well. I'm getting paid 60% of market rate, while you're getting paid 110% for doing a third of the work. Market rate doesn't apply to family businesses, Dad insisted. Fairness should apply everywhere. Ashley started crying, her go-to manipulation tactic. You're destroying everything Grandpa built. No, I'm refusing to subsidize your lifestyle at my expense. The meeting devolved into shouting and accusations. I was called selfish, disloyal, ungrateful, materialistic. Not once did anyone acknowledge the pay disparity or my contributions. Not once did anyone suggest Kevin or Ashley take pay cuts to make things equitable. My last day arrived with no fanfare. I'd prepared everything meticulously. Each file was labeled, every process documented, all passwords stored securely. I'd even created video tutorials for the most complex procedures, knowing written instructions wouldn't be enough. I packed my personal items while the office was at lunch, not wanting a scene. 7 years fit into one small box. A coffee mug from a vendor, a photo from the company picnic 3 years ago, a stress ball shaped like a hard hat that Kevin had given me as a joke, but which I'd squeezed through countless difficult days. Dad made one final attempt as I headed for the door. Sophie, I'll match any offer you get elsewhere. I don't have another offer yet. His face showed genuine shock. You're leaving without another job. That's irresponsible. No, Dad. Staying here was irresponsible. Staying here taught you that you could underpay me without consequences. What if you can't find anything? Then I'll have learned that the open market values me as little as you do. Either way, I'll have my answer. This will destroy your relationships with your siblings. They destroyed it when they accepted being paid more for doing less. I handed him my keys and company credit card. His hand shook as he took them. I love you, Sophie. I know, Dad, but love doesn't pay bills or build futures. Love doesn't mean accepting less than you deserve. I walked out of Harper Construction for the last time at 5:30 on a Thursday evening. The setting sun painted the equipment yard gold, and for a moment I felt the weight of what I was leaving. Not just a job, but a legacy, a identity, a family tradition. But I kept walking. The first month of unemployment was harder than I'd anticipated. Not financially, I'd saved aggressively despite my lower salary, but emotionally. For 7 years, my identity had been tied to Harper Construction. Without it, I felt adrift. I updated my resume highlighting achievements I'd downplayed while working for family. The numbers were impressive when laid out objectively. Managed $15 million in annual revenue, reduced operational costs by 23%, secured $8 million in new contracts, implemented systems saving $300,000 annually. Within 2 weeks, recruiters started calling. Word had spread in our industry that Harper Construction's financial manager was available. Some callers were competitors fishing for information, but others presented genuine opportunities. My third interview was with Morrison Development, Harper's biggest competitor. They offered $110,000 base salary plus bonuses, full benefits, and a clear advancement path. The CEO, Janet Morrison, said something that stayed with me. I've watched Harper Construction's growth these past 7 years. I always wondered who was really running the financial side because it certainly wasn't Kevin or Robert. Now I know. I accepted their offer starting date in 3 weeks. The relief was overwhelming. The market had validated my worth at exactly what Kevin made, plus potential bonuses that could push it higher. Meanwhile, texts from former coworkers painted a picture of chaos at Harper Construction. Maria, the accounting assistant, became my inside source of information. Payroll was 3 days late. Kevin forgot to submit it to the processor. Ashley missed the insurance renewal deadline. Our coverage lapsed for 2 days. The university is threatening to cancel the contract because invoices haven't been submitted. Each message brought mixed feelings. Vindication that my work had mattered, sadness that innocent employees were suffering, anger that it had come to this. Mom called weekly begging me to return. "Your father aged 5 years in a month," she said. "He's not sleeping, barely eating. He could have prevented this by paying me fairly. He knows that now. He'll give you anything you want. What I want is to work somewhere I'm valued appropriately from the start, not as an afterthought when consequences hit." Kevin's wife, Jennifer, reached out unexpectedly. "I need to apologize," she said over coffee. "I didn't know about the pay situation. When Kevin told me, I was horrified. I've been pushing him to support you, but he's too proud." "How are things at home?" she sighed. "Stressful. He's working constantly now trying to do what you did. He comes home defeated every night. I think he finally understands how much you carried." Ashley lasted 6 weeks before quitting. She posted on social media about focusing on her marriage and starting a family. But Jennifer told me the truth. Ashley had made critical errors that cost the company 2 major clients. Dad had screamed at her in front of employees, something he'd never done before. 2 months after my departure, Dad hired a CFO from outside the family. The salary, $125,000 plus benefits. The irony was bitter. They'd pay a stranger almost double what they'd paid me. But the damage was done. The university contract fell through due to missed deadlines. 3 suppliers suspended credit terms due to late payments. The new CFO discovered Kevin had been approving purchases without proper authorization, creating a cash crisis that required a bridge loan at unfavorable terms. The 3rd month brought the call I'd been expecting. Dad's voice was broken, defeated. "The company is in trouble, Sophie." "I'm sorry to hear that. We need you. I need you. You need a competent financial manager. You had one and chose to undervalue her. I was wrong. God, I was so wrong. I see it now." "What do you see?" "That I let prejudice cloud my judgment. That I valued the wrong things. That I nearly destroyed everything trying to maintain outdated traditions." Nearly. "We're hemorrhaging money." The new CFO quit after 6 weeks. Said the damage was too extensive. Kevin can't handle the pressure. Ashley won't come back. I'm 70 years old, Sophie. I can't rebuild alone. "What are you asking?" "Come back. Name your terms, full control of operations, whatever salary you want, just save the company." "The company or the family?" "Both, please." I thought about it for 3 days. Morrison Development had been everything Harper Construction wasn't. Professional, organized, respectful. Janet Morrison valued my input, included me in strategic planning, and had already mentioned promotion possibilities. But Harper Construction was Grandpa's legacy. 50 employees depended on it for their livelihoods. Maria had 2 kids in college. Tom was 5 years from retirement. They didn't deserve to suffer for my family's dysfunction. Here are my terms. I told Dad over dinner at a neutral restaurant. 150,000 salary. CEO title with full operational control. Kevin and Ashley report to me if they return. Board voting rights equal to yours, and a written apology sent to all employees acknowledging my contributions and the discrimination I faced. His face cycled through emotions: pride, shame, resignation, hope. You want me to admit I discriminated against my own daughter? I want you to tell the truth, that you valued traditional gender roles over competence, that you paid based on personal circumstances rather than professional contribution, that you nearly destroyed the company with your bias. That's humiliating. Less humiliating than bankruptcy. He signed my terms that night. The return to Harper Construction was surreal. Same building, same desk, completely different dynamic. The email announcement went out first, Dad's admission of failure and discrimination more honest than I'd expected. I failed as a leader and a father, he wrote. I allowed outdated thinking to blind me to Sophie's invaluable contributions. I paid her less based on her gender and marital status, not her performance. This discrimination nearly cost us everything. Sophie has graciously agreed to return as CEO to save the company I nearly destroyed with my prejudice. Kevin's reaction was predictable but muted. His own failures had humbled him. I guess you earned it, he said, unable to meet my eyes. Ashley didn't return. She sent a text congratulating me, admitting she'd never wanted the responsibility anyway. She was pregnant, happy to focus on her growing family without the pressure of pretending to care about business. The first 100 days were brutal. I worked 18-hour days untangling the mess, renegotiating contracts, rebuilding relationships. But this time I had authority matching my responsibility. Every decision was mine. Every success directly attributed. I hired competent staff paying market rates regardless of gender or family status. Maria got promoted to accounting manager with a 40% raise. Tom became operations director, his decades of experience finally properly valued. 6 months in Harper Construction was profitable again. Not at previous levels, but sustainable growing. The university gave us another chance, a smaller contract, but a foot in the door. Suppliers extended credit again. Employees who'd been looking elsewhere stayed. Dad aged visibly during this period. The man who'd strutted through job sites like a king now deferred to me in meetings. The dynamics had completely shifted. He'd kept his title of president, but everyone knew who really ran things. Christmas brought an unexpected moment. The family gathered at Mom and Dad's house, tension thick, despite attempts at normalcy. After dinner, Dad stood to make a toast. This year taught me hard lessons, he began, voice shaking. I nearly lost everything that mattered because I couldn't see past my own prejudice. Sophie, you saved us. Not just the company, but the family. You had every right to walk away and let us fail. Your strength in returning shows more grace than I deserved. He was crying now, something I'd never seen before. I was wrong. Not just about salaries, but about value worth contribution. I thought traditional roles mattered more than competence. I thought gender determined capability. I thought marital status affected professional worth. These beliefs nearly destroyed 3 generations of work. Kevin stood next. I was an ass, he said simply. I coasted on privilege while you carried the load. I'm sorry, Sophie. You're twice the leader I'll ever be. Even Ashley via video call apologized. I knew it was wrong how they paid us. I should have spoken up. I was selfish, enjoying the benefits while you suffered. But apologies couldn't erase 7 years of discrimination. They couldn't restore the opportunities I'd missed, the relationships I'd sacrificed, the self-doubt I'd internalized. They were words while I'd paid in years. I found balance eventually. The company stabilized, grew, thrived under my leadership. I hired an assistant CEO, delegating enough to have a life outside work. I started dating someone who respected my ambition, didn't see my success as threatening. 2 years after returning, I was featured in a national business magazine. The CEO who saved her family's business after they discriminated against her. The article went viral, sparking conversations about gender discrimination in family businesses. Dad called after reading it. Did you have to mention the discrimination? Did you have to discriminate? It makes us look terrible. It makes you look truthful. That's better than terrible. He sighed. I suppose you're right, you usually are. That admission, small as it was, meant everything. The company is worth $20 million now, double what it was when I first left. Kevin works part-time handling simple operational tasks. He's happier without the pressure, admits he never wanted the responsibility anyway. Ashley never returned content with her role as a mother. I think about those 7 years often. The gaslighting disguised as family values. The discrimination wrapped in concern for others' circumstances. The way competence was punished while mediocrity was rewarded based on chromosomes and marital status. But mostly I think about the moment I decided my worth wasn't negotiable. That Thursday evening when I walked out not knowing if I'd find validation elsewhere, but knowing I couldn't accept devaluation anymore. Dad retired last year. In his farewell speech, he said something that resonated. The biggest mistake of my career wasn't a bad contract or failed project. It was letting bias blind me to brilliance that was right in front of me. Sophie saved this company, but more importantly, she saved me from dying ignorant of my own prejudice. The wall of photos in the president's office. Now my office tells a different story than before. There's still Grandpa with his truck dad at various groundbreakings. But the newest photo shows me signing the papers to become CEO, surrounded by employees who'd fought to bring me back. Maria framed a quote for my desk, "Know your worth, then add tax." I look at it every morning, remembering when I didn't know mine, when I accepted less, because family told me it was enough. The Harper construction story is now taught in business schools as a case study in gender discrimination and family business dynamics. Professors contact me for interviews, students write papers about our turnaround. The lesson is always the same. Discrimination costs more than fairness ever will. Sometimes young women reach out trapped in similar situations. Family businesses where they're the backbone but treated as afterthoughts. I tell them what I wish someone had told me earlier. Love doesn't require accepting less than you deserve. Family doesn't mean subsidizing others' lives with your undervalued labor. Competence should be rewarded, not punished. The financial cost of discrimination at Harper Construction was quantifiable. Nearly $3 million in losses, contracts canceled, relationships destroyed. But the human cost was higher. Trust-broken relationships fractured, years of productivity lost to resentment and recovery. I still work with family, but the dynamics are forever changed. Professional boundaries exist now where familiar casualness once reigned. Compensation is transparent, performance-based, gender-blind. Kevin knows he'll never run the company. Ashley knows her shares don't entitle her to a salary without work. And Dad. He volunteers now teaching entrepreneurship at the community college. He starts every semester with his story of failure, how bias nearly cost him everything. Students think it's hypothetical until he shows them the magazine article, my photo on the cover. That's my daughter, he says with pride that took too long to develop. She saved the company I nearly destroyed with prejudice. Learn from my mistakes. Value competence over chromosomes, contribution over circumstances. The cycle broke with me. Future generations of Harpers won't face the same discrimination. My cousin's daughter, 16, and brilliant shadows me during summers. She sees a woman leading, making decisions valued for ability rather than marital status. Aunt Sophie, she asked recently, was it hard becoming CEO so young? The hard part wasn't becoming CEO, I told her. It was recognizing I deserved to be. Sometimes, the most expensive lesson is the one that costs you nothing but teaches you everything about your true worth. My father learned that my value wasn't determined by my marital status or gender, but by the irreplaceable skills I brought to the table. And I learned that walking away from those who undervalue you isn't giving up, it's growing up. Now, when I drive past construction sites bearing our name, I feel pride untainted by resentment. Harper Construction survived because discrimination couldn't. The company thrives because merit matters more than tradition. The family healed because truth, however painful, trumps comfortable lies. My office door is always open now, literally and figuratively. Employees know their worth will be recognized, their contributions valued. The culture changed from the top down, spreading through every level. We're known industry-wide for equitable practices, attracting talent that wouldn't have considered us before. The salary sheet that started everything is framed in my office, a reminder of where we came from. Visitors sometimes ask about it, this document showing obvious discrimination. I tell them the truth. It's not a trophy of victory, but a reminder of vigilance. Discrimination doesn't announce itself. It hides behind tradition, family values, concern for others. It whispers that you should be grateful for less, that your circumstances determine your worth. But worth isn't circumstantial. Value isn't negotiable. And family that truly loves you won't ask you to accept less than you deserve. That's the lesson of Harper Construction. Not that discrimination doesn't exist in family businesses, but that it doesn't have to continue. Change is possible, but it requires someone willing to risk everything to demand it. In our case, that someone was a 29-year-old single woman who decided her missing husband and children didn't diminish her value. The company is stronger now. The family, though changed, is healthier. And somewhere a 29-year-old woman is standing in her father's office holding proof of discrimination, ready to demand her worth. I hope she does. I hope she knows that walking away isn't betrayal, but self-respect. That family bonds don't require accepting professional discrimination. That her value exists independent of her relationship status or gender, because the cost of discrimination is always higher than the price of fairness. Harper Construction learned that the hard way. $3 million in losses, nearly bankruptcy, family relationships forever altered. All because traditional thinking mattered more than actual contribution. Now I'm 34, married to someone who celebrates my success, expecting our first child. The circumstances Dad once said justified higher pay. But my salary isn't based on these life changes. It's based on running a $20 million company successfully. Kevin's kids sometimes visit the office. They see their aunt, not their father, in the big corner office. They understand that merit, not gender or birth order, determines leadership. The cycle that started with Grandpa continued with Dad, broke with me. That's my legacy to Harper Construction. Not just financial recovery, but cultural revolution. Not just surviving discrimination, but eliminating it. Not just demanding my worth, but ensuring everyone's worth is recognized. If you're watching this and facing similar discrimination, know that your worth isn't negotiable. Your value doesn't depend on marital status, gender, or family position. Your contributions deserve recognition and appropriate compensation. Stand up for yourself. Demand fairness. Be willing to walk away. Because sometimes the most loving thing you can do for family is refuse to enable their discrimination. Sometimes saving a legacy means being willing to let it fail first. And sometimes, just sometimes, the disaster that follows your departure teaches lessons that words never could. Harper Construction learned those lessons. My father learned those lessons. My siblings learned those lessons. The price of their education, nearly everything. The value of the lesson, priceless. The cost of discrimination, always more than fairness would have been. That's the truth I want you to remember. Your worth exists independently of others' recognition. Demand it, fight for it, walk away if necessary. Because you deserve to be valued for who you are and what you contribute, not for your chromosomes or circumstances. What challenges have you faced with family businesses or workplace discrimination? Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and fair treatment? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more stories of standing up for your worth. And if you know someone facing similar discrimination, share this with them. Sometimes knowing you're not alone gives you the strength to demand better. Thank you for listening to my story. Remember, your worth is not negotiable. Your value is not circumstantial. And family that truly loves you won't ask you to accept less than you deserve.